Alrighty, YouTubers. So let's get into our next video. So today we're going to be talking about the 5 worst pieces I got during this year. And I don't necessarily regret getting all of them. I would say one of them, definitely not. But in general, if I could go back, I definitely would not buy probably 4 of them. Uh, Potentially yes on one. But let's go ahead and get to it. And we're just going to start with the number one worst piece I got. And now, when I talk about worst, it's not just like this is the worst quality. I'm really talking about how good is the piece for how much it cost. How good is the paint job? And I'm talking about retail price, not what I necessarily paid. So first thing is Queen's Wolverine bust. This is the worst piece of the year for me. Because it arrived damaged. Now, if you don't recall, mine arrived with this nasty forehead that was peeling right there. Look at that. That was just the biggest eyesore out of this world. And anytime I touched it, like let's say on silicones with hair, oftentimes you'll get these tiny little hair pieces that are stuck to the skin. And you try to use a brush doesn't work. So the easiest way is, honestly, if you get your fingernail and like scrape it off like you would on anything. And on a normal silicone, it's fine. But on this one, because of the paint peeling, it would peel additional paint if I ever used my fingernail. And it drove me crazy. And I ended up getting it repaired, but I wasn't very happy with my repair job. In addition, the likeness was absolutely off for Hugh Jackman, and I think this is Queen's worst bust they've ever done. It just didn't look like him. It had maybe a 50% likeness ratio, and for something that costs $3,000 to $4,000, you need to have likeness, like 90 to 95%. And this was a 50% likeness. I really tried to like this bust, but at the end of the day, I absolutely regret buying it, and I ended up losing about $1,000 because of this. So definitely not one I'm happy I got. So worst statue of the year for me, Queen Studios Hugh Jackman bust. And even if it wasn't damaged, I still think the likeness just isn't there to justify the cost. The detail was kind of good. I don't know, the paint job was different on this one. Definitely is their worst bust they've ever made, though, for me, in silicone. Second one that I think is just garbage for retail is Chronicles Arnold bust. Now, I bought this cheap, $150, but retail was $400, and I think for $400 this is a piece of crap. So I mean, it only cost me $150, and the way I have it displayed is behind my TV, so I really don't have space, and that's why it's there. But if I could go back, I probably would even have bought it for the $150. The sculpt is good, but Chronicle really just lacks in the paint app. And being half scale busts just don't work that good. They're just too small. Third piece is another Chronicle piece, the Crash McCleary Baby Raptors. Now, these retailed at $650. And I'm just like, when I got it, the paint app just isn't that good. They're an awkwardly, it's too wide of a statue, but not very tall. And I don't like wide but not tall pieces. But the paint app just lacked, the base sucked, and I paid, I don't even remember, like $300 or something. And I sold them for about what I paid. But if I could go back, I would even have bought them. They're just not that impressive. And in general, Chronicle collectible pieces are not impressive. So, there's a reason they went out of business. They were producing extremely expensive statues that were very mediocre. The only truly great piece they ever even produced for me is the Raptor bust. Outside of that, every other piece they made was just crap. And this was definitely another one that was crap, especially for $650. It's crazy seeing my old setup here. Look at that. The Bestas, Snow Garage shelves, freaking Aquaman. But yeah, I would, if I could go back, I would not have bought those. Another one, I don't necessarily regret this one. The HCG Chestburster. Now, this, I think HCG is like a Chronicle where they have good licenses, they have good sculpts, but their paint app is just terrible. And I think the Chestburster really, particularly, the paint app just lacked a lot. In general, the color's off. It lacked blood. And I ended up bloodying mine a ton right there to help with that paint app. And I think it looks a lot better the way I did the blood, because it helps cover the paint app. I also think the freaking face hugger really lacks on paint, but it does have a better paint job than the chest burster. And the size really helps that once it's so big. But the chest burster definitely was one piece I got. Just like, that paint job sucks. So me adding the blood definitely helped a ton. But definitely, HCG needs to up their game when it comes to paint app. This one definitely lacked. So me blowing up definitely helps. So I don't regret buying it, but I do think it's one of the worst pieces I got. Like, especially for how much it costs. It's like $350 retail. One might say like a 1/10 could be the worst piece I got, but you also have to consider the paint app, the sculpt for the 1/10 plus the price. I think 1/10s are actually fantastic pieces, especially, like my end game ones. They all looks amazing, especially for like $90. But this for $350 and the paint app you get, it's definitely a disappointment. And the final one, now I know a lot of people love this piece and you probably wouldn't see it on this list, but I really do think Prime One failed miserably on their Pennywise half scale. I wanted to like this piece a lot, but there was just too many things that I just think are absolute deal breakers and just make this piece terrible. Number one, the hair. It was a wig that you could literally see the wig thing. Like, it's hard to explain, but when you see it in person, I just think they did a horrible job on the hair. It should have been hand punched. Wonder Woman half scale was hand punched. It looked great. And I think if they did hand punched, this would be substantially better. So number one is the hair. Seeing the wig line just drove me crazy. Two, the balloon was absolute trash. There was a hole through the finger. It was too thick. The balloon was too big. It's like a life-size balloon. And I just think it looked terrible. It's also right in the middle of the face, and I hated that. If you look at ECC, it's to the side. It's more appropriate. It's an actual like wire. It doesn't look like a rope. It doesn't go through the hand. He's actually holding it. And so, those two, plus I do think the forehead was too big. In addition, it really needs glass eyes. Half scales need glass eyes. They really do. That's one thing the old Trinity half scales really lacked was glass eyes. And, Queen's Aquaman made me like, yeah, it needs glass eyes. So Prime One's Pennywise, from a distance, it looks great. As you get up close, it really lacks. And those flaws become too apparent. The reason I don't regret this by any means is because I was able to get the base for my Pennywise bust. And that was the main reason I bought it anyways. Because when I originally saw it, I was like, God, these issues, they're too much. But I was able to sell the body for what I paid for the entire statue. So in essence, I got the base for free. So zero regrets there, because now my freaking bust is ultimate. But in general, I do think Prime One failed on the Pennywise half scale, tremendously. It is, from a distance, it's amazing. Up close, it's a huge failure. The hair, I do think the face definitely lacks a ton. Giant forehead, no glass eyes, and the hairline is so bad. The rope, the balloon too big, hole through the, rope through the finger. Just too many issues. I do think the outfit was great though, and I like the concept of it. The execution just was really bad. So, and I didn't pay a ton for this. I got it really cheap, like $1,200. But at retail, this thing is like, with tax and shipping, it's like $2,500. So it's very expensive. And for that price, Prime One should have, fixed it. They should have absolutely made it a lot better. Hand punched hair, glass eyes, freaking better rope, and to the side, more like ECC. ECC did a phenomenal job on theirs. The likeness isn't perfect on the normal head, but neither is the likeness on the Prime Ones. I don't think it's perfect. I think my bust is perfect, but not Prime Ones. The forehead's way too big. And the hair, the way it came out of the box, it just so messy and not styled at all. But yeah, I would say this is probably the fifth of them. Putting in that order. But yeah, that's basically for me the 5 worst pieces. I know Prime One Pennywise in general is still an awesome piece, but there's just too many flaws for a $2,500 piece. So that alone puts it at the on that list. But I don't regret buying that one at all. I don't regret buying the HCG Chestburster. The rest I absolutely do, especially Logan. That is the worst piece, and Queen Studios should be ashamed they even released that. It's unlicensed. This is really before they even were a big name company, but the fact that they painted it with paint peeling silicone, and it was such a nightmare for me. Probably the worst statue experience in my entire life. I would say that is it. So definitely the biggest regret this year was getting that. I don't regret Hulk or Loki, although I wish I would have gotten a better Loki, not one with issues. But yeah, that is my 5 worst statues. Let me know in the comments below, what is your worst statue you guys bought this year where you're just like, God, why did I buy this? Ugh. It happens, I think, to everyone where they buy a statue, they instantly regret buying it. Sometimes when it's, like a newer statue, you could just return it, no big deal. But when it's, from a third party and they're from China and you've spent a lot on shipping and they don't accept returns or you PayPal gift them, you're really in a, crappy situation where you just have to take a big loss. I was lucky I even sold that Logan bust, to be honest. I didn't think I would. And so I'm glad I was able to at least recoup, $3,000 of my $4,000 I spent on that. Anyways, folks, that is it. We will do on the next video the top 10 best statues I received that shipped this year. And then the following video, part of this series, will be my top 10 most anticipated pre-orders of 2022. So that is it though, folks. I'm going to get back to watching some Family Guy, then play some Halo Infinite, which I've been playing a ton lately. If any of you want to play with me, and you do need to be pretty decently good, then add me on Xbox Live. Flankster117 is my gamer tag. And, that's where I got my YouTube name, Flankster117. That's my gamer tag from Halo 1. Because back in good old Halo 1 days, I would use the plasma pistol to stun you and flank you from behind and melee you in the back. And so my friends started calling me the Flankster because I was so good at that game. That is it though, folks. I'll see you on the next one. Like, comment, subscribe. Have a great day.